Also, as always, when I come here, I want to tell you that, to thank you for allowing me to be your district attorney and to work for you and everybody in this room. I have such the best job in the state of Louisiana, for sure, in Baton Rouge, that I get to work with a lot of very good judges, public defenders, lawyers, policemen, sheriff's deputies, federal agencies, you name it. But I get to work with the best employees that I have at the DA's office. These folks are extremely hardworking, and they're dedicated, and they're under extreme stress right now as we're going through this time of year with things that are going on. And I've invited a few representatives, if they could stand up to be acknowledged. DA's office members. Thank you guys very much. So we have the Crime and Public Safety State of Crime 2024. Can't promise that I have all good news. I do have some bits of good news, but it is what the facts are. And I think that if we know where we are and know where the facts are, that we can change and get better. And that is obviously what the hope is. Homicides, always in the newspaper. That's what we're always judged by. Unfortunately, this year we're up 15%, nearly 16% from last year. Look at our biggest year ever was right after COVID, 2021, when we had a really outsized number of 151 homicides. That's just totally unheard of. Basically, a city our size should be around 40 homicides per year. Unfortunately, we have hovered around the 80 mark forever, and then the two brave years when we really got after it, we're at 60, and so there was significant differences. But as you see, the numbers are coming down past COVID, but they're not coming down quite as fast as other cities and parishes. But we do have historical issues we deal with, and I believe the biggest one is education, and we'll talk a little bit about that later, and what's really helpful and good on the horizon for us. So that's the most murderous year in history, 2021 here. And you'll see the comparisons, 2023, 2024. Some months were just really out of whack, and no really rhyme or reason to why you would have that many in March 15 in 2024 compared to 6 in February, and then go further back in September, and then obviously May is an outlier. We were low that month when we normally are high, and then toward the end of the year. For the past years, we've seen January, November, December, where you think that people at home with their families would be less, but it seems to be more. And it changes by year to year. Who are the victims of murder? You'll see they're kind of neck and neck with the yellow and the blue. And I've highlighted here, ages 26 to 39 are generally the range who are being killed, but close after that, you see the blue, 18 to 25-year-olds. So younger people are being killed, and you'll see in another slide regarding juveniles. I'm sorry, time of day. So your mom probably always told you, I'll get to the next slide, but Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, our biggest days for homicides. And what your mom told you, Mike Irwin's always saying was, your mom said nothing good ever happens after midnight. Well, this proves the point. At midnight is where our hottest time is that someone's going to be killed. So stay at home or away from bad folks at midnight on Sunday and Monday. You should be okay. This is a little different. We have always here talked about in Baton Rouge since I'm 16 years here, 70805. It's always the zip code you hear as being the worst. 70805 and 70802 have fought for that number over and over and over again. As of we stand right now, 02 and 05, if you look at the 2024, they are neck and neck for the number of homicides percentages, and that has historically been the spots. So I think that tells us that if you really are able to focus in those two zip codes, that you can create some good vibes from there, and a lot of things can happen. It is also historically the most underadvantaged places in our community. So again, we have to invest there. And that's evident from historical years of work. Juveniles. A lot have been heard about juveniles. We lowered their age, raised the age, right or wrong. We do see more and more juveniles that are becoming involved in violent crime. This is just homicides. So you see that 12% of this year's victims have been juveniles, and 30% of the suspects have been juveniles. Now, the 30%, to me, that's a big number, because when you're talking about a juvenile, you're only looking at a very short number of years compared to, you saw the victims ranging all the way up to 35. You're only looking at a few years that you are a juvenile, and that's a big number for me to look at for juveniles that are suspected of killing someone. So to me, that's an issue that we have to deal with. And I think, again, it all relates to education in Baton Rouge. Another bit of good news, Melody Fields is here that runs our Stop the Loss program. Look at the COVID year of 2021, where we always thought and knew that when men and women are locked up together with their loved one, that they were going to kill each other. And it happened. It happened in the COVID year 36, the year after 24. As you see, the numbers have gone down to 8, and this year 9. Now, we've expanded our definition of domestic violence and intimate partner. It is not just husband and wife, it's other family-related members. So the numbers are a little more inclusive this year. So I think that if we just included husband and wife, we would be back to that 2015 number of 4. What's a little scary about the number is that this year only 9 are domestic violence intimate partner related, and all the rest are others. So that's going to be group, gang, drugs. So with the COVID years, you explain why the number jumps so high. It's because it's intimate partner domestic violence. This year, it looks like we're having a much more bigger problem with group gangs and drugs and retaliation. So that's good news for us for the future. Hopefully we can keep that. And I think a lot of this effort has to do with outreach and the Stop the Loss program of identifying weekly the people that are being arrested, giving them a level, treating them, getting to the victims quicker, and the outreach programs that everyone has done. Firearms, look, this is just about all murders are involving firearms. I think when you see a slide from Orleans has a little less firearm involvement, a lot other weapons that are used. But this has been consistent not only through Baton Rouge, but throughout the history of the country. And I think you can venture to say that a lot of the firearms that are used are illegal weapons, because we see often illegal weapons. It is not the legal gun owner that is committing offenses involving firearms. This is extremely important. Non-fatal shootings with injury. This is what drives everything. These are folks that, this is called bullet to body, blood comes out, and it's not just someone shot at the door shut up. That is not included in this figure. And so these are just shots fired where someone is hit. That means somebody was hit. That means somebody is going to retaliate because either they do not trust the police to report it or do something about it, or the police cannot solve the case because there's no cooperation. Therefore, that person that gets hit is going to go take care of the law in his own hands, which now leads to the next one, which leads to the next revenge shooting. So these numbers are the numbers that I think as a community we really need to concentrate on. The issues are when you are down 115 police and down 100 sheriff's deputies, you just cannot consistently follow up on non-fatal shootings in any type of fashion that can give you the best bang for your buck. That's where I think we're hurting the most with the lack of police officers, is the ability to follow up on these, because you know retaliation is coming. If you can stop it, then you're going to stop the next shooting, you're going to save a murder, you're going to save a life. So this is something that we really as a community have to work on. Looking at the comparison of shots fired versus non-fatal shootings versus fatal shootings, obviously overwhelming non-fatal shootings are the biggest number. Violent crime comparisons. I wanted to take a look at New Orleans because New Orleans has started a program called NOLA Project, or forget the name, real name. We have Safe Baton Rouge. We're trying to mimic what NOLA has done. NOLA pretty much has got a lot of business folks together where they've attracted $15 million a year, and they're going to invest in the disinvested communities, and they're going to take it over as not the police doing the work from the top down, but it's the community doing the work from the bottom up, which is really the only way it happens, but along with police work. And I do think that's paying off for New Orleans. So look at the big decline in New Orleans with homicide rates from 2022 down compared to EBR. And although both were declining, New Orleans had a really sharp decline. I caution that this is over a very small period of time, and anything with crime trends really have to be over a much longer period of time. But it is something that you have to pay attention to, and we are surely looking at what they are doing. I think some of the numbers have increased recently. And this is just January to October of this year. So look at the big decline Orleans has had, and we have actually slightly increased a little bit, but we're fairly close to each other now. Although, as you know, Baton Rouge is a much bigger city, and so that's a number that we really need to keep an eye on. But otherwise, look at the numbers of the lines; they're fairly consistent. But here we are today. Birds involved with a gun, this is the one I talked about. Looks like Orleans, they may kill people a little more with knives or other things than Baton Rouge does. Not sure why that is, but that's the numbers that we see from New Orleans compared to Baton Rouge. And look at this slide, comparison of the city of New Orleans versus the city of Baton Rouge, not the parish. And look at the lines from 2017 to 2021. We were pretty darn much even with the city there and the city here. And then it does have a little separation as we get to 2022. And I think that's where the local private group became involved. Another comparison, the bottom line, the United States, middle line blue, the state of Louisiana. Then we get to East Baton Rouge, the city of Baton Rouge, and then New Orleans. Obviously, Baton Rouge, city of Baton Rouge, and New Orleans are way over the United States line and the state line. We have always had that issue. Again, it's an issue that we have to resolve and address because it affects everything. Overdoses, we have good news. It's still bad, but I want you to see from 2014 on how that number for opioids, and we're talking generally fentanyl now, which everyone has heard of. Look at the numbers of how fentanyl has spiked and comparing that to overdose, homicides. Homicides are what you read about on the front page of the paper all the time. You don't read or see nearly as much of the overdose deaths that happen daily. But look at the steep decline that we had. We were a little late to catch on compared to other states around the nation, but we caught on with a vengeance and it went up. But I'm telling you, with the help of a lot of work, a lot of outreach, people going out on weekends that work full-time jobs at the DA's office and other places, going out to the hot spots, handing out Narcan, When You're Ready program. I think that has had a significant impact on our overdoses. And as of today, this year, for the first time ever, we have a decrease. And the decrease isn't just 1%, it's 32% decrease within a year. So that's a lot of work that these people have dedicated to this problem. And I know, speaking with a lot of the parents, that they're overwhelmed that this is going on, but unfortunately for them, it's too late for their child that is already dead. But this is good news, and we hope that we continue to trend in this direction. Look at the demographics. I wish I had the previous ones. So at this point, it's surely much more African-American black males that are overdosing and dying. So the number is, I can't read in the red, but it's in the 80-something. And white males, females are 73. So there's a difference. This slide a year to 2 years ago was more overwhelmingly white male and females versus black, but that has subsequently changed. And I'm sure there are reasons for that, but we will continue to look at that. And here's the age range that we're seeing people overdose and die. So it's affecting a wide range of people and ages. By month, look at the top tree, that's by day. So you'll see which ones are the highest. Friday, obviously, is now the highest, and then Wednesday. Not sure why, yeah, but that's and you'll see the month. And June. And then so this year has been June. Look to the left. Overwhelmingly, the last several years, it's been April and November. I don't know why it would change to June. It just kind of happens. It's something that we're looking at. Don't know that we have an explanation. We did look at the COVID months of when checks were given to folks, and it did coincide with checks being given out. This year, we don't have such a thing to look at. So we're just going to keep looking at this and keep studying it. And by time of day, and this is 6 o'clock in the morning is when someone is dead. The only reason that we're thinking is that maybe the person's not dying at 6, but maybe they're being found at 6 when the family wakes up and they can't wake someone. So that's our only guess that we can figure out now. Again, we'll continue to look at this. And then the zip codes. Different zip code than 70805, 70802. It's 70816. And this is where it is. It has always been that for us. It's Airline Highway and I-12, Sherwood and I-12, lots of apartment complexes there. That's not apartments, it's hotels and motels that are there that we've had issues with where multiple people are dying on these. And that's where our biggest outreach effort has been, but it still consistently is the highest number that we have seen. It is followed by 70805, 702, but that is an outlier. If we're able to do better job in these locations with those hotels and motels, and maybe looking at legislation that we have tried before, which is a little awkward, maybe we can have better enforcement there, and I think that can surely alleviate this issue because the businesses around there are feeling it. But in speaking with them, they also realize that we're down 30%, and they say they feel a lot safer now, but the number's still too high, and we need to give these folks, these businesses, some help. And here's the timeline of when fentanyl became the deadliest in the United States, and obviously, like anything else, we saw it here in 2019, and everything has been declining, but I think our decline has been sharper, but unfortunately, we're starting at a higher number, so we still have work to do. And hats off to Bo Clark, does a phenomenal job of this. This is overdose deaths. Look at 2019. Fentanyl is red. And so back in 2019, we saw a lot of folks dying of multi-toxicity. And it was a bit fentanyl, but other opiates were there. But now, look at 2024. Overwhelmingly, everyone is dying from fentanyl, although sometimes mixed with other drugs. Because now we're finding fentanyl in pills. You find it in anything. You're not safe with anything that you take as a pill. You should always check it. All right, efforts to address crime. So with every overdose death that you just saw, which is 200 or 300, the police go out and they seize a cell phone. And the idea is to get into the cell phone to find out who's the last phone call. The last phone call is generally the dealer because these folks are addicted and they can't wait to use the drug. And as you know, cell phones are encrypted and we do not always or rarely have the encryption and access to it, and it makes it harder. So we have machines that we have paid for or received grants, and it takes a long time to try to get into the phone if we can. But once we're able to get into the phone, we're able to see if we can find the last dealer and then look at every other phone that we've received from other overdose deaths to see if we can find who is that main dealer. And the Sheriff's Office have made several cases for homicide on drug dealers that have killed. The cases are very, very hard to prove, but they are working on it, and Without this unit, I'm not sure where we would be. It is difficult. It takes 1 to 4 days for us to receive a phone after a death. We have processed 129. There's a lot of data in a phone, and it takes about 3 weeks to analyze the phone. Once you get into the phone, that's only one phone, and we've only had one analyst. And we fund this on our own and through private dollars, so I'm not sure how long we're going to be able to keep this unless we get some additional funds. The Crime Strategies Unit. First Sergeant Sonia Armstrong is here. She's with the National Guard. She's a rock star. She can crunch any kind of number that there is. And we formed this unit in 2015. She gets all of the data from all the different departments. She puts it together and sends out to the police departments what's going on where should you be. And she does a great job with prison phone calls, all kind of other social media that tells us what's going on, when's going to happen, who's going to kill who. And we try to pass that information along to try to prevent crime. This is some of the hotspot mapping that she does. And again, the idea is to get it to the police to let them know what's hot on this date, this week, this time. And we try to enable that with strategies that help us fix crime. This is like, she has reports that come out daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, and they're all colorful, and but they're packed with extremely important information, and we get these out as often as we can. And she is, again, phenomenal at the job that she does, but it breaks it down to the street corner, day, time, you name it. Does a great job. The Gun Crime Intelligence Unit, as you know, every time someone shoots a weapon nowadays, unless it's a revolver, which is generally not, a shell casing ejects from that weapon, and that shell casing has a unique mark on it. The ATF has developed a system called NIBIN, and it's called National Integrated Ballistic Information Network. We put that shell casing information into a computer database, and it tells us where that shell casing has been used before or shot at a scene, and we're able to map all of those, and it has really helped us. Again, the issue is personnel to follow up on these shootings because they are all linked in one way or the other. And this is the workload, how it goes, and I won't bore you with this, but every gun that's taken off the street is fingerprinted, DNA tested, and shot, and tested and put into NIBIN. Thing we started on this year, we have learned from the retailers that you are getting stolen blind. $98.2 million sales taxes are lost because of the theft. These big box companies, when someone walks in with a cart and they walk out, they try to stop them, but if they try to stop them and it's going to be violent, they let them go and they walk. They try to get the items back. If they can't without a fight, they let them walk. You let them walk when you walk with meat. If you are able to stop that, you can't sell that meat again. It's hard for the police to keep up with the calls, again, at their level. And so we are having significant repeat retail offenders that know exactly what they're doing. They know what the cutoff limit is. They know it's a misdemeanor. They know they're going to get a summons. If they get anything, they know in a summons they do not get a court date, and they say, come find me. Then with 2 more days, they're being picked up again, and they're given another summons because it's under $500. We're looking for ways to stop that and to change some legislation to say this has to stop, and because it is costing all of us in this room tax money. Big issue that we're having now is transcripts from body-worn camera. There's so much body-worn camera out there. The ADAs that review them have to review them in real time, and when you have 8 to 10 body-worn cameras on officers at a scene, and it's a 4-hour scene, you just can't keep up. So we're looking for a way that we can transcribe body-worn cameras, also jail phone calls and others, because it's just very difficult for us to keep up with that volume. And when we went to the body-worn camera, we never thought about the download effect on ADAs in court and public defenders of having to look at all of that. So we're looking for ways that we can speed up the process. Truce, you've heard of Truce before. This is a gang strategy where we try to intervene in young kids that are highly at risk and are potential to be killed or kill. And Ace LaBurgess is the director. She's here today. This is another self-made program, not funded, and we're always looking for special funds to do this. We have a few workers that work in the schools that are highly at risk right now. We need more help in this regard. This is one of the biggest things that I'd like to talk about. Baton Rouge Area Foundation, the DA's office, and the school board have invested into a study. We were seeing from beginning, day one, the kids who are dying, the kids who are killing. You look at their average school, they're not, after the 6th grade, they're gone. And that's why these young kids that thrive are doing such a good job, and that school is doing such a phenomenal job. When you teach these young kids, there are different alternatives. But we're seeing, we studied 120,000 kids going back to 2007, those who have killed and been killed or been involved in violent offenses. We're seeing where we have missed so many points where they were saying, come get me because I'm going to kill or be killed. And now we're finding ways that we can intervene, particularly through early childhood education. And when I'm telling you, when this study comes out, you're going to be so impressed that where's this been? And I think that if we're able to follow the model and what they tell us to do, it's going to be transformative for Baton Rouge, not only for education, it's going to filter down or up to crime. And you're going to see a different child, a different student, and this is what Baton Rouge has been needing and begging for years. It's the one of a kind in the nation, and I'm so proud of this effort by BRAF. You guys are going to be impressed when this comes out, but we have to follow their lead and invest in it. DNA backlog, the mayor and the city council gave us $400,000. We're still backlogged. We've exhausted all of that money on DNA, but we're trying to get to it. Glock switches, that's the automatic weapons. It's a $30 device that goes on the back of a weapon that makes the weapon fully automatic. It can expend 90 rounds in 2 seconds. Mr. Richard Lipsey helped me get in touch with gun manufacturers. This bill to outlaw machine guns passed through the House and the Senate with 1 nay vote for a state of Louisiana. That's phenomenal. We had the support of everyone. We are seeing a lot of Glock switches. So we start off in 2020 at 1, and look at the numbers year to date today. We've had 78 arrests so far for Glock switches. These are extremely dangerous. When you use this and you try to kill one person, you kill 3 or 4 because you can't stop it. All right, this is when the curtain comes down in front of me so no one throws things at me. You've heard that I'm underfunded, chronically underfunded, and I know my time is running. But I think I'm at the point now where I have to ask the community to think about supporting a property tax, a millage for me, probably an amount of a 4 mil tax. Our budget is around $14 million a year. We're the biggest city in Louisiana. And look at the percentages that 24th Judicial, that's Jefferson, and Orleans, the percentage that they have over us. Their budget's around $22 million a year. Mine at the most is 14. I cannot keep up. Orleans DA has 3,300 pending cases. I have 12,000 pending cases. They have 84 warrants for assistant DAs. I have 50. You can't keep up with that. We cannot keep up. I'm telling you, as a person, as a friend to all of these people in this office, my office, you can now see it on their face. It's palpable. They're stressed. They cannot be a parent and a prosecutor at the same time putting up with the load that we have. We have to have a better, more secure Baton Rouge. I hate asking for this, but I think that it's something that's needed. I will look at every other alternative that I can. I think this is the fairest way that I can do it. It will probably cost, if it's passed, it will probably cost, I'll run through some of these comparisons. It'll probably cost the average taxpayer $65 to $75 more a year. And I would then have a budget that was consistent with Orleans and Jefferson at around $24 million. What's the bigger part of that? I see Mike Mitchell is here from the Public Defender Board. I receive $6 to $8 million a year from the city. If this tax is successful, if we can convince them that they need it and they're going to get a benefit, the backlog goes away. I would like to see the mayor and the city council consider the money they give to me to go to the public defender's office, because I cannot be a strong DA's office without having a strong public defender's office. It has to be fair all the way around. And we are allies, we work together in the system, and I think that'd be a good spend of that money. I don't think the city would funnel it away somewhere. I think that is the right place to do it. Then you'd have really officers that can prepare and move cases. I think you'd have a better outcome for criminal justice. I think those that can get diverted are gonna get more time spent to them, and you can help them along the way for them not to come back. The idea is not to have a big DA's office to put everyone in jail. The idea is to do justice, because we have to represent not only victims but defendants, but bottom line is you. And unless and until we get there, we're dragging our feet and flipping hamburgers, and we can't do it anymore. I've lost significant personnel, quality people to other officers that are paying them much more money for a case volume for them that is much less. They can breathe, they can live, they can be a parent and a coach. And at this point, my dedicated people cannot. And personally, I cannot do that anymore for them. It's been too difficult on them. So I know I'm running out of time, and I like to show you the different comparisons, but we are way outliers. And look, this is not a blame on anybody in the system, mayor, city council. It is what it is. It's historically been that issue. So I didn't have anything thrown at me. I'm good. And I'd like for your support on that, but look, I have to make my case and tell you why it's going to be better. And it's distasteful, but I think it has to be done, and I'd like to answer any questions that I can. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I work in the healthcare sector, and as I'm listening to the groups that you're collaborating with, we in healthcare ask patients specific questions. We in healthcare ask all of our patients specific questions related to health equity, and one of them being relationship with crime. So social factors of health contribute to 80% of a person's health. Have you considered partnering with all of the healthcare organizations as they're asking those questions? There's a focus on it in order to improve the health of our community as well?
Yeah, so the table right next to you, those two ladies there, we will go out of their way to tell you all the efforts we've made to be into a hospital intervention program. I see Coletta's here as well from Our Lady of the Lake. Yes, that is extremely important. There are problems with HIPAA and information, but yes, it's expensive to do, and so we are extremely interested in that, because it's where the doctor meets the person and saying, look, this is not good for your health, you're gonna die. And so, yes, we are totally interested in that.
When would we have the opportunity to vote on what you're suggesting?
All right, sorry about that. We hope that it's May 3rd, and so I do have a few other steps to go to, but May 3rd will be the date. Thank you. I'm glad you asked the question.
Where does one get a switch? What's the crime for making the switch,
Yeah.
and are y'all able to prosecute?
So where do you get the switch? It's called, a switch is called, it's dropped in a, I'm sorry, a switch that goes on the back of a semi-automatic weapon. It's a small device. It's $30. They're made all over. Japan will send them here in bags of 30 for $100. You can make it in a 3D printer. It's very easy to make, but they're plastic. They're not as good as the metal ones that machinists can make. The auto sear goes on the longer gun. It drops in the middle. Those are generally metal. They're very effective. The ones that are made by plastic are not quite as effective. It's a $30 conversion device that anybody can have, and they're all over.
What is the cost of fentanyl on the street, and can you speak to seizures?
So fentanyl, unfortunately, is cheap now, and it's because it's stepped on a lot by including it with other drugs. So it's extremely affordable, more so than a regular pill that would be that you would buy from a doctor. I'm gonna tell you once again, the sheriff's office is kicking butt on fentanyl dealers, and they're seizing as much as they can seize. And we're having a hard time keeping up with the bust. They're making another one right now as we speak. And the effort that they're putting into it is phenomenal. It's a collaborated, concentrated effort, and they've seized more money than we ever had before. Also, Baton Rouge Police had the single most amount of fentanyl seizure this year, one seizure, and it's mind-blowing how much they got on this one case. And so we have a lot of fentanyl here.
I have one more question
Hey,
before
Coletta.
we finish up.
in the data, there was, from 2022, there was like a 19% murder rate in 70816, and then it was down to 9% in 2024. What can you attribute, what happened, what interventions were done to drive that murder rate down, so 10% reduction?
What was the year?
From 22 to 24, in 70816, that's the Sherwood, interstate area that you highlighted.
So that's where I think we had most of the outreach in that area on the weekends.
Okay.
And I
thanks.
think that's where the majority of the bang for the buck came. Someone had a question in the back? Oh, sorry. Oh, he can't answer.
Thanks for being with us, DA. States with legal marijuana, do they have the same fentanyl issues that other states have?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it matters one way or the other, legal marijuana or not, fentanyl is fentanyl, and yes, everyone is having significant issues with fentanyl. Look, unless and until we say, we're gonna stop Americans from dying, because we're killing Americans by drugs that are coming in from China, the precursor drugs are going to Mexico or coming to the United States, and from Mexico, they're being made there, and they are coming to the United States. They're not going to any other countries like they are to the United States, and they're killing our citizens. Unless we stop it at the border, airport, you name it, Americans are gonna die. And so it's uniquely an American problem. Read that anywhere there is. We just have to be serious about it and say enough's enough. You're killing our own people.